I saw Eddie Hearn get uncharacteristically tetchy earlier on today in an interview with Boxing Social when Rob Tebbett questioned the choice of Hassan and Dam as an opponent for Callum Smith. And he also alluded to the strength or lack thereof of the card overall, this AJ versus Ruiz card. Now, I've seen a lot of people defending this card. I've seen some people say it's a good card, and Eddie Hearn is saying it's a fantastic card. And I get it. Eddie Hearn has put a lot of hard work in to put this card together, saving the main event. A lot of people were saying it should be scrapped. Colin Hart of The Sun was saying publicly that they should scrap this card. Eddie Hearn is a very accessible promoter. He's the most accessible boxing promoter in the world. There is no other boxing promoter who is as easy to get hold of as Eddie Hearn. Facts. I've been around boxing many, many years. Trust me, you cannot get access as just the average Joe with your smartphone. You can't get the access to a Frank Warren or a Bob Arum or an Oscar De La Hoya, etc., the way you can with an Eddie Hearn. He's a very, very accessible guy. He runs his own Twitter account. So if you at him on Twitter and you get into a conversation with him on Twitter, that's really Eddie Hearn. Okay? Now, him being so accessible, and obviously it benefits Eddie Hearn, okay? But it would benefit Frank Warren too if he was as accessible, as Eddie Hearn. But those guys just don't have the patience, okay? It benefits Hearn because Hearn knows that if you engage with the fans, people are going to warm to you eventually, and they're going to feel like they know you. They're going to feel like they know your brand. They're going to connect with you, and that's going to result in better ticket sales. You know, that's going to result in more people knowing about your fighters because you're engaging with fans and you're telling them about who's on this card and who's on that card. So, you know, it benefits Eddie Hearn. But still, it takes a lot of patience to engage with the fans as much as he does because he comes in for a lot of criticism. Now, some of it, of course, is valid criticism, but there's also a hell of a lot of trolls. And I don't care who you are, I don't care how thick your skin is, when you're getting trolled day in, day out on Twitter with people atting you. See, this is not somebody talking about you on a forum somewhere. This is not somebody talking about you in a YouTube video. This is not somebody, you know, talking about you with their friends around their house over a couple of beers. No, this is somebody coming to your Twitter account and atting you constantly so that you see their tweets, slagging you off, telling you you're a joke, telling you you're an idiot, telling you you're a fraud, trashing all of your hard work. When you're putting on all these shows, they're coming out and they're telling you these shows are garbage. I don't care how thick your skin is. If you read those comments all the time, day in, day out, eventually it's going to get to you. Eventually you're going to bite. Eventually it's going to piss you off when you've been working, 14, 15-hour days, sometimes longer with hardly any sleep, putting these shows together, and someone comes out and says, it's garbage. Someone who has no intention of being objective. I get it. So I can understand why Eddie Hearn snapped a little bit in that interview with Rob Tebbett. But be that as it may, I have to be real about this card. I think in this particular instance, the criticism of this card is very, very much valid. I think this is a poor card. I think AJ Ruiz, to me, is the most interesting fight on there. And that's not to say it's necessarily the most competitive fight. I just think it's the most interesting fight because of the styles, the fact they're heavyweights. There's a good chance of a spectacular fight and a spectacular knockout in that particular matchup. But the rest of the card, I mean, Callum Smith versus Hassan and Dam. Rob Tebbett brought this up. First of all, the fact that Ndam's been chosen as an opponent for Callum Smith. Hassan and Dam, yes, he's been in there with some good names. Yes, he's a former world title holder, I guess. But he was a career middleweight, still is. Callum Smith, just as Rob Tebbett said, is really a light heavyweight who boils down to super middle. So there's an enormous size difference between the two. For one, Hassan and Dam is like in his mid-30s. He's never had the greatest punch resistance. I know he's, climbed off the floor in several fights like he did against David Lemieux, like he did against Peter Quillin, but he lost those fights. So you can say, yeah, he went in with Lemieux and Quillin. He lost those fights. And then the Murata fight, well, the first fight was a very controversial decision. The second fight, he lost. So, I mean, who's his best win, really? His best legit win is probably, what, Curtis Stevens? So you're talking about a guy whose best proper win that was not disputed in any way was Curtis Stevens. And that was at middleweight. And Curtis Stevens is not a particularly good fighter. Fringe contender at best. And that's the guy they're putting in with Callum Smith, who's an enormous super middleweight. It's a poor fight. Yeah? It is a poor fight. And that's just what that is. AJ versus Ruiz, I think it's not bad. Of course, AJ is the favorite and rightly so, but it's not bad. As a voluntary defense, I think it's cool. Andy Ruiz is definitely a legit top 10 fighter. So I think it's cool. Chris Algieri versus Tommy Coyle. A strange fight. Chris Algieri, when's the last time he fought? Because that's the only thing that might make it a little interesting. Okay, he actually fought earlier on this year. Didn't realize that. He fought in 2018 as well. See, I haven't seen the comeback fights from Algieri. I didn't see this one against Angel Hernandez. I didn't see the Daniel Gonzalez one either. Not that I can remember. If this was the Chris Algieri who fought Pacquiao, or even Amir Khan, I wouldn't really give Tommy Coyle much of a chance, to be honest with you. I'm not saying that Chris Algieri would bomb him out, but I just think he's too good for a Tommy Coyle, you know, that Chris Algieri from back then. And I would be very confident in picking him to beat Tommy Coyle. Right now, I don't know. I haven't seen Chris Algieri fight since the Errol Spence fight, actually. So I don't know where he's at, but I don't know. I just look at Algieri versus Coyle as a strange fight more than anything. Strange. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know, but Algieri has never been one of my favorite fighters to watch, and neither is Tommy Coyle, quite frankly. So a very odd fight right there. Taylor versus Persoon. Delphine Persoon. Okay, the less said about that, the better. I know this is some undisputed fight or whatever, but still, the less said about that, the better. Josh Kelly versus Ray Robinson. I don't think I've seen this Ray Robinson guy fight before. Who is he? The new Ray Robinson. Well, not quite. 24-3-1, Southpaw. Who's he actually fought? Ugas. Okay. Got stopped by Ugas. Prescott won that. Prescott is ancient. Okay, lost to Sean Porter. Lost to Brad Solomon. Who is this guy? So we're supposed to think this is a great fight. Kelly versus this guy. I don't know who that guy is. Josh Buatsi. I think have they announced his opponent now? I think they've announced some opponent. And I have to check out the opponent for. Hang on, who's Josh Buatsi supposed to be fighting? They announced it the other day. Oh God, it's gone from my head. Paraban, excuse me. Okay, Josh Buatsi's fighting Paraban. That's another fight which is pretty poor, really. Paraban. If they would have said Porky Medina, that would have been slightly better. You know, because Porky Medina's been fighting at a higher level and he's been doing okay. Even though he's been losing, he's been doing okay, you know, putting up gallant efforts in losing recently at championship level. Whereas Paraban, nah. I mean, to be honest with you though, at 10-0, you can't really complain with Paraban as an opponent when you consider the fact that Buatsi's only 10-0. But when you take into account that the rest of the card is relatively weak, then it doesn't really bode well when you're putting in Buatsi against Paraban. So yeah, overall, on paper, this doesn't look like a great card. I'm just being real. I know I've seen a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people in my boxing group defending it. And because it was somebody, shout out to Matt, who came out and said the card was trash. And then he got attacked from all angles by people saying, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. The card is not trash. People, I don't think this card is very good. You know, maybe I'm being ignorant. Maybe I'm going to be in for some surprises here. We might turn out with some classics on this card. But when I just look at the rundown on paper, it looks poor. I'm interested in the AJ fight. against Ruiz. But other than that, I could easily pass on the rest of it. Seriously. Yeah, they're saying that the AJ fight is going to be at 3 a.m. I could easily sleep from like 11 and wake up at 3 and miss the whole rest of the card and not even really care that much about watching it the next day on Daily Motion. Don't really care. So look, I'm just being objective here. You know me, I'm not going to start trashing somebody without any reason to. And I'm not necessarily trashing this card, but I'm just being real. It's not a very good card. This is a Frank Warren level card. Typical Frank Warren level. Minus the AJ, because the AJ Ruiz, I like that fight. Yeah. But the rest of it, nah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of heat because there are people who come to my channel and they see me criticizing Deontay Wilder. But you have to understand, the only reason I criticize Deontay Wilder and his team is because they are not giving us what we want, which is the undisputed fight. If they all of a sudden give us what we want and AJ doesn't give us what we want, then then the whole situation is going to be reversed and I'm going to be on AJ and Eddie Hearn's case 24/7 and bigging up Deontay Wilder. I've got no allegiance to Eddie Hearn or AJ. I'm not loyal to them. Don't get it twisted. But a lot of people have got it twisted. A lot of people who are AJ fanboys, Hearn fanboys, they've come to this channel thinking I'm one of them. Well, I'm not one of you. So when Eddie Hearn puts on a poor card like this card, I'm going to tell it for what it is. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of thumbs down on this video, but that's cool. Let me know how you feel. It's happening. I'm out.